Hi Saint Ignatius, my name is Mr. Malachek. I teach IS1 for freshmen and sophomores. I'm here to explain the rules for bridge building and hopefully make it a little simpler when you guys go to build these. It depends on who your teacher is as to what the requirements will be for your class. Some teachers have it for extra credit, some are optional, some are required, and then it just kind of depends on whether they grade it on as a test or a quiz or a lab, so you have to ask your particular teacher. My job is to explain the rules. Before we start, I want to thank Walsh Construction Group. Walsh is run by a number of Ignatius alums, and they very generously donate both time and money to this competition. They provide food and drinks on the day of the competition, and they also provide a substantial cash prize to the top student bridge. So that's something to look forward to. They also provide cash prizes to the top 20 or so bridges as well. So certainly there is a reward at stake here. The bridge rules come from Illinois Institute of Technology, IIT, and they change slightly every year. So this bridge you see before you and this platform is from last year. Last year, you notice that this support surface is a little bit lower than this one. So this is last year's kind of twist that they put on it, and this year's is a little bit different. So this is last year's, it's not the same as this year's, but I wanted to use it as a demo. I'm going to explain the requirements right now. It's very, very important that you meet all of the requirements before the day of the competition. When you come the day of the competition, we will have a little sheet like this, and a science teacher will be responsible for checking your bridge in. So it will be down in the McLaughlin room, and you'll walk in with your bridge, and it will say certain requirements. And if you meet them, we'll check it, and then we will say you have qualified for the competition. But if you don't meet them, we'll ask you to change it. Now, we don't want you to do that. We want you to come ahead of time with everything done so that you understand the rules. So please start early and ask questions if you're not sure about the rules so that we can clarify. In many cases, when students find that they haven't met a rule, it's too late for them to really make any significant changes so that they can meet those qualification requirements. We still will let you test it, but I believe you are excluded from the prize. So how does this all work? First, you need to start with the sticks. They are $2 and they're available from us here at Ignatius. This is a type of wood called basswood. We put them into small bundles for you. Each individual stick is about this long, and it's a square size, so square on all the way around. They are fairly flexible, so it's something that you could think about when you're building your bridge. They can be sanded, they can be notched, they can be cut. An X-Acto knife or scissors work very well. And they can be laminated. Now, laminated does not mean covered with plastic. Laminated means you take two sticks, put them next to each other, and then glue them along their entirety to make them basically a thicker stick. Okay? And you can do this with one or two or three, and you can make it multi-dimensional, so you can have a huge, giant piece if you wanted to. So laminating is allowed. What is not allowed is that you may not cover them with any paint or any other coating aside from glue. This one was built with wood glue. Wood glue is commonly available at any hardware store or Ace, etc. Wood glue has seemed to work well in the past. Other students have chosen to do hot glue. Other students have used super glue or Gorilla Glue, even Elmer's glue. So it's really up to you. Any common adhesive will work. So it's up to you. You might want to ask an older classman or an upperclassman to see what they have used in the past and what was successful. The requirement on the mass is the easiest one. Your bridge may not be more than 25 grams. Now when we put these bundles together, we have that in mind. So this bundle is approximately 25 grams. In fact, it may be just a little bit over. We are assuming that when you build your bridge, you're going to have some scrap pieces. So when you don't use some of it, let's say we don't use this end, this should be well under 25 grams. Now, the 25 gram requirement also is fairly easy to meet as long as you don't use a ton of glue. Some students who cover their whole thing with glue, the glue ends up adding a lot of mass and they end up over that 25 gram threshold. I would encourage you as you're building, or if you're unsure, if you might be getting close, please bring your bridge in even if it's not done, and we can take it to the lab scales and find the mass real quickly so you know how much room you have to work with. So the mass must be under 25 grams. It must be only of these, again, and any common superglue. Now, getting into some of the more complicated requirements. We call these surfaces that the bridge will rest on the support surfaces. For our competition this year, the distance between the support surfaces is 30 centimeters. So looking at this from last year, this is 30 centimeters. So your bridge has to be at least 30 centimeters. Now, do not aim for 30 centimeters because if you're a little short, it will fall in. So it must be at least 30 centimeters. In addition, the bridge may be no longer than 40 centimeters. So 40 is the maximum length. Again, do not aim exactly for 40 centimeters because if it's a little too long, you might be disqualified because you didn't meet the requirement. So when you're planning your bridge, it might be best to aim for something in the middle, say 35, 36 centimeters. That way you know it's going to be long enough and you also know it's not going to be too long. So keep that in mind. Regarding the width, you see that it is an 8 centimeter maximum for the width. So the width obviously is, if you're looking at it this way, the distance from here to here. So 8 centimeters is the maximum across. It can be more than it can be less than 8 centimeters, but 8 centimeters is the maximum. Again, I would not aim for 8 centimeters. If you're going to aim for something close, maybe 7.5. That way you know that you're within the requirements. Now, getting a little more complicated. The loading plane is the plane at which we're going to test our bridges. Now, how that works is that bridges are tested with this contraption, which hangs from the underside of your bridge. And I know that this looks very scary and large, but I assure you that the bridges can support this. Now, this will hang from the underside of your bridge, just like this. So here's the bridge. This will hang from the underside of the bridge, and bricks will be added one by one until the bridge breaks. The number of bricks that it supports will be recorded on this page, and then you'll turn that into the judges and you'll be done for the day. Now, this attaches to your bridge with an eye hook, this silver piece right here, and this small piece of wood. This small piece of wood is 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters. And it has a hole right in the center so that the eye hook can go through it. So when you come to test your bridge, you will put the piece of wood in your bridge like so. You'll attach a bolt so it stays, and then you'll start adding bricks. Now for this bridge from last year, the loading plane, that is where you attach this little piece, was on the bottom. So if you look at this bridge, it was designed so that this block would fit on the bottom like so, and then the eye hook would fit through here, and it would pull it downward, and the load could be applied. This year's competition has a slight variation. The loading plane in this case must be between 10 to 20 centimeters above the support surface. So if this is my support surface, the point at which I apply this to my bridge must be at least 10 and no more than 20. So it must be somewhere in this range. It cannot be right at the ground level, and it cannot be way up high. It must be between 10 and 20. So this bridge, for example, would not qualify for this year because the loading plane would be too low. It must be elevated 10 centimeters above the support surface. The other interesting twist to this year's competition is that we will not load these from the center of your bridge. So here's the center of my bridge. In all the previous years, we've loaded all the mass right in the center of our bridge. This year, the loading points are 5 centimeters to the left of center and 5 centimeters to the right of center. So once you've built your bridge, find the center, move over 5 to the left, and move over 5 to the right, and that is where this piece must fit. Okay? It does not go in the center, it must go 5 centimeters to the left or 5 centimeters to the right. When you're designing this, remember that the eye hook must also be able to slide through your bridge. So you're going to put this on the bridge, but make sure you don't block it underneath because this hook must be able to slide through as well. Now it's not very large, but there have been a few times where students are able to put this piece on, but they can't get the hook through because there's a stick in the way. Now, one of the other requirements this year is that the loading plate, this 5 by 5 centimeter piece, must be able to slide completely along the top of your surface. So think of this like a highway, and you're driving a car on the top. The car must be able to slide unimpeded from one end to the next. So that means if you're thinking about your building, if this is the top, you don't want to have small sticks every once in a while, because then your loading plate would be blocked. So it has to slide smoothly from one end all the way to the other end. Effectively, that means that you might want to make your top surface all the same height, or at least add a few extra pieces so that it can slide smoothly all the way along the top of your bridge. Included in this video is included with this documentation is a video from last year's competition. So you can see exactly how the students load it, and you can actually see what it looks like when it all breaks. It is pretty fun and pretty exciting. The last thing then is when you are finished, you will take your completed white paper, the one that says you met the qualifications, and that it tells you how many bricks you held, and you'll bring it over to the judges, and they will calculate your efficiency. And efficiency is how we determine the winners. And the efficiency is defined as the load supported, which is measured in grams. So that's how many bricks you put on, we calculate that to grams, divided by the mass of the bridge, also measured in grams. So obviously the bridges that are best are the ones that will hold the most load, and they require the least mass or the least number of sticks to produce. I think that's all of the requirements I need to go through. You'll also be provided with a simplified rules sheet. There is the full rules available online from Illinois Institute of Technology, although it is a bit difficult to read. So you'll be provided with a simplified rules sheet that Ms. Majerzik has put together. And obviously, if you have any questions as you're going through this, please do not hesitate to ask. Good luck. I look forward to seeing the final products, and let me know if I can be of any help.